Good evening. This is Thomas Simpson with Afro Solo TV. We're here again at the studio here with a wonderful conversation that we will have with a fabulous artist who's with us. Afro Solo TV is brought to you by SF Live here at Comcast SF Live here in San Francisco, and as part of the Afro Solo Theater Company. This year we're celebrating our 16th year. We will have a fantastic festival that will take place in August that will have the visual arts, music, theater, dance. We'll have some of the artists who will be performing coming on the show also. But for today, we have our guest, Mr. Michael Ross. Mr. Ross is a visual artist. And as I like to do is not talk a whole lot about the guest, but have them speak for him or herself. And in that case, it's Mr. Michael Ross. So, good evening, Michael. How are you doing?
I'm very good, Thomas. How are you?
I'm good, and it's very nice to have you here
Thank you.
on Afro Solo TV to talk a little bit about your work, what you do, and what life is like, you know, here in the Bay Area or San Francisco as an artist.
Yes.
What I like to start off doing is asking our guests a little bit about themselves, where they're from, maybe where they went to school, and how you wound up here in San Francisco. That's several different questions, so let's take it first. Where are you from?
Yes, those are different questions, Thomas. But, I'm from Laurel, Mississippi, southern Mississippi originally. And I came to the Bay Area in the late 80s, in 1988. So I've been here for a little while. I came here after college. I studied at University of Mississippi, and then I studied at Northern Illinois University. And I came to San Francisco.
So, you're a Southern man.
Yes, definitely.
And were you there during some of the civil rights movement?
Well, I was being born, so in the early 60s, so I don't remember a whole lot of the things that we see on television or that we read about, but I certainly do remember the atmosphere. I certainly do remember those types of things shaping a lot of how I perhaps respond to things. Or also experience things.
Now, you said that you have an undergraduate
Yes.
degree in art.
Yeah.
But let's go way back before then.
Okay.
And how did you get your start in the arts?
Well, starting in the arts, as far as I can remember, I started to draw about the same time I started to write. So I probably, 6 years old or 5 years old, I can remember doing drawings then. And I do remember thinking then, I want to be an artist. Although I didn't know any artists then, but I knew I wanted to be one. So.
Wow, where did it come from? Do you know?
I'm not sure, but I just had this fascination with it. And I certainly would draw little things, draw little people, and yeah, just always drew.
Now, were your parents artists, or were there other people around you who was also drawing? So where did you get this inspiration? Do you know?
Not so much that I remember that there were people around me drawing. I do remember my family being supportive. I mean, I was saying, I want to do this, I want to draw, and they believed that I was a little artist. My sisters and brothers who were older would save little pieces of paper for me from their school notebooks and so forth so that I could draw on them, and I was just excited to have that because they gave it to me, and that I guess at that time was very supportive, and I didn't know how to express that, but that was what it was. Yeah.
Do you remember your elementary school?
I do.
What was the name of it?
Well, at first, the elementary school was called Mount Olive.
Was there an arts teacher, or was it part of the curriculum?
There wasn't. I mean, especially in many areas, there wasn't a lot of funding or curriculum for art. I didn't start to study art in school until I was in junior high, in 7th grade.
And what did you do in junior high in terms of an arts curriculum?
I remember I had this wonderful art teacher. My school was 7th grade through 12th grade.
Was it all black or was it integrated?
It was integrated. It
Okay.
was I would imagine the ratio of 25% black to 75% white. And my teacher, there was only one class of art. There wasn't advanced art. It was just one class. And if you wanted to take art more than 1 year, you just kept signing up for that class, and that teacher would work with you and give you more and more things. And I took that class for 6 years. I took that class in 7th grade to 12th grade, and by the time I was a senior, he said that I was the only person who'd taken it that many times. He'd only been teaching for 10 years, and I'd been with him for 6 of those 10 years. So,
Wow.
so he was wonderful in guiding me. He was really very knowledgeable about drawing, and it helped to develop my love for drawing, the act of drawing, pencil drawing, and all those things,
Hmm.
which I still delight in doing today, in addition to other things.
Now, we've mentioned you're being an artist,
Hmm.
and on the screen people will see visual artist.
Yeah.
How would you define a visual artist?
Well, I think you would say that someone who works with art that really is visual. I mean, I don't mean to make that just say that word, but it is very broad, and so I think that you can define visual art as something that it does appeal to the senses that are visual. Sometimes it appeals to other senses, such as hearing and even smell and taste.
Hmm. In terms of your discovery artist, and as you grew into that, who are some people who you admire, who helped sort of inspire you?
There's an artist, John Biggers, who did wonderful. He's no longer with us, but he did wonderful art that was lots of drawing, influenced drawing, where he did paintings as well. And there was Charles White, who was really, I think, Biggers' teacher. He was a little bit older than John Biggers, but they both are masters. That, to me, the great fathers of drawing.
Are these African American?
They are. They've left us wonderful work. I think in terms of painting, William Johnson, who's also an African American artist, and also, you know, there's a Norwegian artist of the 19th century, Edvard Munch, whose work I've always loved. It's very, very. It's very, very intensely emotional, but I always studied it in college, and I loved it. So.
Now, you mentioned your family not necessarily being artists, but being very supportive of you in your desire to be an artist. So I wonder if there was some inspiration that came from them, bringing all those different things home and, you know, patting you on the back maybe.
Oh, certainly. I think that. I think the attention, I mean, I'm the youngest of 8, and my siblings, while I don't think they spoiled me, but they were always around, so I always had attention. And I say mostly positive attention, that's what I mostly remember. So. But I think that was influential, and my mother and father as well. And in my quest to want to do things visual and creative, they sort of, they took it in stride, and they believed that I was doing what I said I was going to do.
Great. What type of work do you do?
The type of work that I do, I work mostly two-dimensionally.
You work mostly what?
Two-dimensionally.
And what does that mean?
As opposed to three-dimensionally, which would be sculpture or things that are in the round.
Okay.
And many of my things are flat. And so in that sense, I certainly do a lot of traditional drawings with pencil. I do some charcoal, but I really like to work with pencil. And even with my paintings, I tend to combine drawing, like colored pencils are combined with the painting. And then I also do collage, which I would say is paper cut and pasted and reconfigured into a design.
Now, in terms of your career, have you seen yourself go through several periods where you worked in a particular area?
Yes, actually, I would say pencil drawing is, I would say it is as my foundation. So all throughout anything else that I'm doing, I'm always doing pencil drawings, not just as sketches, but as drawings. But I have gone through periods where in the early 90s, for about 2 years, I did drawings and paintings of chair images, and then that evolved into the collage, and I started to do chair images and throughout the 90s and mostly early in this decade. And those chair images evolved into house images and sort of pitched roof houses.